Hey, good morning, YouTube. It's Thursday, the 8th of March, and this is my third video, I think, of the week. Since I'm not working this week because of my liposuction, I thought I'd get some a little bit more face time here on YouTube. So I had my knee liposuction on Tuesday. That was 2 days ago. Yesterday I did go to the gym, and I worked out, not to my full heavy capacity, but I worked on chest, biceps, and abs. Hey, I felt a little dizzy here and there. I'm glad I went, but maybe I overdid it a little bit. So I came home, took a couple of Advil, and rested, put my feet up. Didn't have a great sleep last night because the bandages were off, so I felt not as secure when I was sleeping, and my knees kept banging together, so I used the pillows between my legs again, and I just remember waking up often. So I went to the doctor today for my first post-op, and they said everything looks good. I just have 2 single stitches in each leg that'll be taken out next Thursday, and they said the swelling could last 8 to 10 weeks. They thought that everything looked good, and they did take out a significant amount of fat, so I'm anxious to really see what the final result's going to look like. So right now, for compression, I'm just wearing a pair of leggings that I folded up over my knee so it's a little bit tighter. That's all that I needed. I don't need to wear any kind of compression girdle or anything like that. So I am taking the rest of the week off and just kind of lazing around doing a little spring cleaning and trying to rest in between. So one of the reasons that I also wanted to post today was that there was a lot of conversation going around about food addiction, and I have my own opinions about that, and I just watched Natasha's YouTube video, and I couldn't agree with her more. So I did want to respond to that as well as adding my own opinions, and I did a quick Google search before I videotaped this just to find out what exactly are the signs of food addiction. And what I came up with is that there are 5 things. The first one being food is all you think about. You want to stop, but you can't. You eat in secret or you lie about what you've eaten. You eat beyond fullness, and you eat when you're not hungry. So I know from lots of conversations with people who have had weight loss surgery, food is something that we always think about. I think maybe now it's more mindful thinking, maybe more so now. I know I think about food more now than I did before because now I have to think about my choices. So does that make me more of a food addict now than I was before? I don't know about that, but I do feel that I'm more mindful about my food, so I do think about it more. I want to stop, but I can't. There are times where, and for instance, there's a time right now, my husband and my youngest son made cookies last night, and I had to be out of the room. I could smell them. They smelled good. I kept myself busy, playing games on the computer and reading. But this morning I came downstairs, and there's one chocolate chip cookie left that was sitting on the cookie pan. And it had my name all over it, and it's still sitting there. I'm not gonna take it. Hopefully, my older son, when he eventually gets up, he'll eye it there and he'll eat it for me. But it takes a lot of willpower just to say no. It's one small cookie. How many calories could it have? Could it really harm my contest prep? Well, probably, because it's going to send my insulin levels up, and it'll halt fat loss. So you really have to think about those things. So do I want to stop? Yes. Do I always have the willpower to say no? No, not all the time. Do I eat in secret or lie? I think I used to, not so much anymore because I know I'm just lying to myself. And I do know that nighttime after everybody's gone to bed, if I'm still working, that's usually my weakest point, where I feel that I just want to grab something, whether it's a handful of cereal or something, and I don't know why. I think maybe my trigger is being tired, or maybe if I'm working it's more stress related, but generally stress, as Natasha puts it, usually don't eat, and that's kind of how I am too. So I think it's tiredness is one of my triggers that I just kind of want to eat. Eat beyond fullness. Well, now people that have the lap band, we really can't eat beyond fullness, otherwise we vomit. I do know of people who have had the band and they eat until they vomit, especially if they're in a restaurant. They go in the bathroom and vomit and come back out and eat some more. And that's very dangerous to your health. You could have a band slippage and things like that. And then eat when you're not hungry, and I think most people refer to that as head hunger. So those are the 5 things, and I think that I think I still have quite a few of those. So I think once you're an addict, whether you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, you always are. You always have those tendencies. So yes, I'm going to say that I'm still a food addict, and it's really hard, and people don't really understand food addiction. They certainly understand drug addiction, and you take the drug away and the person is cured, or if you're addicted to cigarettes and you take the cigarettes away and the person's cured. Not always so easy with food. It's because the food's always there. I think you have to understand what your triggers are. And while you may say it's okay to have a sugar-free treat, it still causes metabolic changes in your brain, and chemical changes, I should say, that could make you crave more sweets, and you may end up eating more than you really thought that you did or would eat. And I also just read that drinking a chocolate milkshake reacts on your brain chemicals the same way cocaine does. So just think about that, how easy it is for somebody to become addicted to cocaine. It's just as easy to be addicted to chocolate milkshakes if it affects your brain the same way cocaine does. So that's really scary. Now, what are the reasons why people become food addicts? So, I started to think back and trying to use some of the tools that I'm learning in my bariatric life coaching classes. And, I'm thinking back to what perhaps caused my food addiction. And I remember growing up that my mother used food as a replacement for things. Now, I was the only child, and I was brought up just by a single mom. So my mother used food really as a replacement for siblings, replacement perhaps for a father, replacement for emotional support. She had a lot of emotional issues, especially, and I've said this before, a child growing up in the 60s without a father really was very frowned upon, unlike it is now. So I was always asked questions about the whereabouts of my father from my teachers, from kids at school. I was teased a lot. I started gaining weight at a very early age, so I was made fun of, maybe from the time I was in kindergarten on. So a lot of those, I would bring those questions back and those emotions back to my mother, and I never really got any answer. The only thing I can remember is that whenever a tough question was asked, that I was really given food. And yeah, they were of the Hostess variety. They were Twinkies. They were Suzy Q's. I remember many Saturday mornings sitting in front of cartoons just with a box of Twinkies or Suzy Q's, because my mother was still in bed. I didn't have a sibling, and I was given the television and a box of Hostess to keep me quiet until she decided to get up. So at a very, very early age, I was taught to use food as a replacement for friends, for family, for siblings, and for emotion. So there you have it. That's how my food addiction happened. So as I grew up, oftentimes instead of me voicing specific opinions, if I was upset, I would withdraw and go eat. And I thought that was normal because that's all that I knew. And there's so many people out there who just don't understand the fact that people can become overweight because of emotional issues. And they think that we're just fat because we like to eat. Well, we're fat because we weren't taught the right mechanisms to deal with our emotions when we were growing up. Now, not everyone who's overweight or obese has those problems, and some people simply just choose the wrong foods, even though they know what foods to choose, and they don't have any emotional problems. But, I'm talking specifically about people who have food addiction problems, and the ability that you really have to kind of sit back and do some soul searching and determine what that root cause is. And if, in my case, if it's emotion, then we really have to sit down and figure out how I can now overcome turning to food by using, my words and addressing my emotions or feelings for people. So, that was my opinion. That's reply to Natasha. My phone's ringing. I'm sorry. There's always seems to be a disruption when I try to do a YouTube video. So that's all that I have. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye, guys.